The flood disaster in Ibadan. Well, a whole lot is going on there actually, such that an emergency has been declared there by the governor, and some actions or plan of action he said that they will go ahead and take. But that's what we'll focus on here today, so you could just stand by to send your comments to us ahead of time. But we do have a report about that unfortunate incident, and then we'll take it now and take it from there afterwards.
It all began like a normal rainfall. Cars drove in it. Some even stayed in it to have a serious altercation over a minor accident. But little did the residents of this ancient city know that this was no normal rainfall, and that they were about to witness a disaster similar to one that occurred some 30 years ago. The rain simply refused to stop or even subside. For 5 whole hours it rained. For each of those 5 hours, water level around the city rose. As it did, homes began to get flooded. Fences around houses gave way, but it wasn't until after the rain had stopped that the extent of the damage became clearer. This aerial view showed a city that is substantially overrun by floodwater. The devastation was horrible. On the ground, the reality of the disaster had begun to hit home as the death toll had begun counting. But most of the dead still remain unaccounted for. This woman, for instance, had not been able to find her entire family, including the husband and children. The story is no different from this man who lost his entire family to the disaster. Some of those found alive after the rain had stopped had to be rescued by crude means through the effort of local divers.
This is a local initiative that we would think of before the arrival of the NEMA people and the state. So we bought some tire tubes and ropes for the divers, and we were able to rescue about 50 people. And then we saw some dead people. I think we had about 4 or 5.
It is feared that the death toll may rise to 100 when the final figures are computed. But apart from the dead, the city's infrastructure is badly damaged. A bridge that once stood here has now collapsed, disconnecting communities in the process. Electricity facilities are so badly damaged, it might take some time to fix them. As for the victims themselves, life from here on will surely be a struggle. The flood has rendered many of them homeless. The state government has already started distributing relief materials to the victims. Deputy Governor Moses Adeyemo is coordinating the effort, but it is obvious the effort itself may not make any significant difference.
We are going to make sure that all those who are affected, at least to a greater extent, we are going to make sure that they are treated medically, materially, and then give them food that they can eat.
Even though Ibadan is prone to flooding, residents here say this is the worst in living memory, and it goes without saying that recovery for most will be very difficult. But when everything finally settles down over this disaster, questions will be asked as to how come the state did not prepare for this, and why before now stiffer actions were not taken against residents in some parts of the city that are notorious for dumping refuse and erecting structures on waterways. Maybe the answers will get Ibadan prepared if the rains come another day. Deji Badimasi, Channels Television News.
Well, yes, indeed, some of those questions will be answered subsequently. But now, to discuss that matter, as a matter of fact, of course, you do know, if you watch today's paper session here on Sunrise Daily, the figures, as according to the Red Cross, it's now climbed to 102 people who are reported dead by the Red Cross concerning Ibadan floods. Well, to discuss this matter and a lot more, we're joined by Iyiola Akande, who is the NEMA Zonal Coordinator for the Southwest. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Well, indeed, unfortunate scenario there, and disaster area. The governor has declared that state now. But in terms of the response of NEMA, first and foremost, let's get your response about this entire incident in Ibadan.
Yeah. The National Emergency Management Agency swiftly swung into action immediately we heard the news of the unfortunate incident of flooding in Ibadan.
When you say immediately, when was it?
Sure. Actually, I was in Ibadan. My house was personally affected, so I need nobody to tell me that flooding was ravaging the city. So as early as 6 a.m. that day, that is Saturday, the following day, the rain fell overnight. I contacted major stakeholders, including the state government, through the State Emergency Management Agency. And as early as 7, 8 o'clock, we had already assembled at the office of the Deputy Governor for immediate search and rescue operations and assessment, initial rapid assessment of the whole situation.
Sorry, you said you assembled with who?
Yes, I had to contact all stakeholders so that we strategize on
which
how to
will
go
include,
about it. Include the State Emergency Management Agency, the Nigerian Red Cross, the Civil Defense, the Road Safety, and all other stakeholders. So we all assembled and strategized at the office of the Deputy Governor, and which led the team. So that is how we started, and as early as 9 o'clock, we had swung into action.
Well, maybe we should ask you how it works. The emergency agency, how does it operate? Naturally, do you have some kind of trainings that ordinarily you don't need to assemble yourselves as soon as you see this kind of a disaster which they experienced as early as maybe even midnight? Some other members of staff should be out there to see how they can salvage the situation.
Yes, we are adequately trained, but you need to be well coordinated. Otherwise, people will be doing things at cross purposes, and you will not achieve the desired result.